Among all the Green Lanterns, Guy Gardner is that character well known for his tough attitude and of course for his bald haircut and his Green Lantern uniform that really sets him apart from the others. In today's video, we're gonna dive into everything that's happened with the character since his first appearance in the comics, his role in the Justice League, and we'll also talk about his appearances in other media, like animations and movies. So no beating around the bush, let's get to the video and check out everything about Green Lantern Guy Gardner. Guy Gardner, the second chosen from Earth, was created by John Broome and Gil Kane and made his first appearance in Green Lantern Volume 2, number 59, back in March 1968. Guy Gardner was born in Baltimore, Maryland, to Roland and Peggy Gardner. His dad was an abusive alcoholic who often beat young Guy while idolizing his older brother, Mace. Mace eventually became a cop. After years of getting beaten and trying to impress his parents, Guy finally gave up. If he couldn't be as good as his brother, he decided to do the opposite. Guy turned into a juvenile delinquent, often getting into trouble and breaking the law. A real outlaw and criminal, he was constantly in and out of the juvenile center. After his 18th birthday, his brother finally straightened him out. When Guy stole a car, instead of letting him go to the city jail, Mace beat him up and told him to stop embarrassing the family, get some decent clothes, and find a real job. He loaned Guy some money and said it was the last time anyone would take care of him. Guy started hitting the books hard in school again, landed a job, and paid for his college. He channeled his aggression by playing football at the University of Michigan. Guy graduated with a liberal arts degree, majoring in psychology and education. For a while, he worked counseling prisoners before settling down in a more permanent job as a gym teacher for kids with special education needs. Eventually, when Guy's dad was dying from liver failure, they made peace and spent a week together before the old man passed away. When the previous Green Lantern of Sector 2814, an alien named Abin Sur, crashed on Earth, he had to choose someone to replace him just before he died. The two most worthy men on the planet to pass his ring were Guy Gardner and Hal Jordan. Hal was chosen because at the time he was closer to the crash site, becoming Earth's first Green Lantern almost by accident. If something happened to Hal, or he couldn't fulfill his duties, Guy Gardner would be Earth's Green Lantern. After finding this out, Hal traveled to Baltimore and joined the men's club where Guy was working out. The two quickly became friends, even though Jordan couldn't reveal his secret. Sadly, Guy was sidelined when he was hit by a bus, and the Guardians found the new backup for Hal, an architect, John Stewart. Stewart went on several missions while Gardner was in the hospital. While still laid up, Guy Gardner met his old romantic interest, Kari Limbo, a gypsy with limited precognitive abilities. She told him he had a great destiny ahead and that on a fateful day of utmost importance for him and the whole world, he'd be the last of a great tradition. After Hal Jordan's ring was damaged by the Crumbler, Guy Gardner finally got his chance to become a Lantern. While Hal traveled to Oa to fix it, Guy teamed up with Green Arrow to take down the dangerous Professor Ojo. But when Hal's power battery exploded in his face, he vanished from the earthly realm and was presumed dead. Hal Jordan comforted Kari Limbo over Guy's death, and the two slowly began to build an attraction toward each other. Eventually, after a near-death experience, Kari proposed to Hal. On the wedding day, it turned out that Guy Gardner had been transported to the Phantom Zone. Brainwashed by the Zoners, he joined General Zod against the Green Lantern and Superman. Hal barely made it out of the zone alive with an unconscious Superman, and upon returning to Earth, found out that Kari wouldn't marry him as long as Guy Gardner was still alive. When Hal went back to the zone to rescue Guy, he discovered that Sinestro had kidnapped him and taken him to the antimatter universe of Quard. After fighting his arch-nemesis, Hal finally brought Gardner back. However, he was in a comatose vegetative state from which he wouldn't recover for several years. During Crisis on Infinite Earths, the big event that reshaped DC Comics in the 80s, Guy finally woke up from the coma. Possibly for brain damage, he wanted to reclaim the Power Ring and the title that rightfully should have been his. By that time, Hal Jordan had decided to retire and John Stewart was the active Green Lantern on Earth. Gardner and Jordan fought near Abin Sur's grave in a dramatic confrontation, as Guy believed Hal was deliberately responsible for his troubles. Even though the Guardians of the Universe demanded an additional Green Lantern for the duration of the crisis, Hal was unfit for the job because he had resigned. And it was at that moment that Guy Gardner finally got what he wanted. He was a Green Lantern at last. And check this out, finally sporting his most recognizable uniform that sets him apart than the other Lanterns, which is his green vest alongside that bowl cut he now rocks. Sometime later, on Apocalypse, Darkseid sent his agent Glorious Godfrey to Earth with the aim of influencing people's minds against superheroes, leading to violent riots and anti-vigilancy protests of which Guy almost became a victim. As the resident Green Lantern, he was selected by Dr. Fate to be part of a final team to fight Godfrey's mobs in Washington, D.C., despite a presidential decree banning superhero activities. Battling the Apocalyptian Warhounds, they finally managed to break Godfrey's control over the populace. While most other heroes immediately forgave those who fought against them, Gardner insisted that mind control couldn't have taken root if there wasn't a deep-seated distrust of his kind. The heroes in attendance that day decided to join forces as a new team for justice. As the previous Justice League had recently disbanded, they would form a new incarnation, the Justice League International. Guy's journey in the JLI was filled with constant personality changes and endless arguments among the team members. This led to a brawl with Lobo, a punch thrown at Blue Beetle during a boxing match, and ultimately him leaving the team after being dissed by Superman. Guy was romantically involved with his league buddy Ice, even picking up a bit of rudimentary Norwegian. Their relationship came to a tragic end when she was killed by the Overmaster, but recent events led to her resurrection. Guy became a founding member of the new Justice League alongside Batman, Martian Manhunter, Dr. Fate, Shazam, Blue Beetle, Mr. Miracle, Black Canary, and Dr. Light. Although Guy made repeated attempts to gain authority in the group, Batman had admonished him at every turn. These challenges culminated in a fistfight between the two, finishing with a knockout punch from the Dark Knight, putting Gardner out for several hours. When Guy woke up, he even tried to grab his ring that had fallen, but quickly fainted again after hitting his head. Hal Jordan was firmly against Guy joining the League, but President Maxwell Lord chose to ignore his warnings. After waking up from Batman's punch, Guy showed signs of a mild traumatic brain injury-induced dual personality disorder. He switched between his typical aggressive self and a much kinder, sweeter, and gentler personality whenever he took a serious blow to the head. And this personality shift lasted for a while in the comics. It wasn't something that happened overnight, and it even helped him build closer ties with other heroes, including his relationship with Ice. However, after facing Lobo, he took another hit to the head, and that's when he reverted to his old personality, going back to being that jerk. As a result, all the dynamics with the team and his relationship with Ice went upside down. With Hal Jordan back in the limelight, Guy Gardner had to share the Green Lantern title with him, but of course, Guy wasn't gonna take that line down. So they agreed to a fair and square fight where the loser would retire as Lantern, resulting in Guy losing the match and having to hand over his ring to Jordan. But this wasn't the end of Guy Gardner, because he ditched his uniform and started rocking a tight crop top instead, plus he started packing a bunch of weapons. From that period on, Guy Gardner became a completely detestable character even to the audience as he became more and more unrecognizable and his stories got increasingly wild. He decided to become a Yellow Lantern of the Sinestro Corps, and in doing so, he kind of turned into a villain because to recharge his ring, he'd have to fight Green Lanterns, which he did, with the exception of Kilowog, as Guy didn't have the guts to go up against Kilowog. But the bizarre antics involving Guy Gardner didn't stop there. As if everything that happened so far wasn't enough. A group of aliens trying to create their own intergalactic mercenary police force to rival groups like the Green Lanterns, Dark Stars, and Legion asked Guy Gardner to be their champion and chief enforcer. He agreed to work for them on the condition that they refer to themselves as the Gardeners of the Universe and also sports his haircut. This gave him a paycheck, and had everything that he wanted, plus his hero career, power, wealth, and respect. And if you think that's getting a bit too weird, hold on, it gets weirder. There was even some sort of clone of Guy Gardner created, Joseph Gardner. Yeah, the 90s was a time filled with its own weirdness in comics. Another wacky moment from the era was when Guy took on the codename Warrior. This was a time full of completely over-the-top stories where there was this purple guy, a cyber guy with a metal arm, and all sorts of bizarre stuff that totally distanced him from the Guy Gardner the fans loved back in the Justice League International days. The stories of Guy Gardner Warrior reached the point where Guy discovered he was descended from a species of time-traveling aliens. As fans began to lose interest in that comic, the inevitable happened. The comic got cancelled, and afterwards, Guy Gardner apparently died during the Our Worlds at War saga, but it was later revealed he had actually been kidnapped, and this was part of an even bigger plan in a saga involving General Zod, in which he also ended up just being a minor character.
After a long stretch of tough times in comics, everything changed with the arrival of writer Geoff Johns in 2005, a period during which Guy Gardner had what many fans consider his best run in comics. Even though Hal Jordan was the main character, the other crew members played a significant role in the story. Hal Jordan came back to life and brought the rest of the Green Lanterns along with them in a climactic battle against the entity Parallax in the emotional spectrum. In a strange attack on the Warriors, all of Guy's powers and alien DNA were replaced when he was possessed by Parallax, but Jordan's ring duplicated to give him one, and in an explosion at the Justice League Watchtower, Guy finally became a Green Lantern once again, returning with his iconic suit from the Justice League International days. From then on, Guy returned to appear in Green Lantern comics, showing up in the fight against Superboy Prime, reuniting with his ex-girlfriend Ice, and even becoming a Red Lantern for a brief stint in the Blackest Night saga. Since his return to comics, Guy has participated in various DC sagas, but without his own ongoing title. In the New 52, he continued without a solo comic, but had some good moments in Green Lantern Corps, where writer Peter J. Tomasi added more depth to Guy's personal life. This time around, he's the son of a family of cops, but even with this change, the element of a tough childhood stayed. His brothers were the favorites, while he was always overlooked, the child who frustrated his parents' expectations, and he was mistreated by them until his mom passed away. Losing his mom didn't hit much due to everything he went through, but it affected his other brothers, especially his brother Jared, who began to take it out on Guy. Over time, the relationship between the brothers improved, and one day when his brother Jared, who followed the family tradition and became a cop, got into a showdown with drug dealers, Guy hopped on a bike to help his brother. He helped Jared into the car and sped off to the hospital when suddenly a Green Lantern ring appeared, choosing him to be an intergalactic hero. Despite not being the protagonist of the comic in the New 52, Guy continued to have some standout moments, including infiltrating the Red Lanterns at Hal Jordan's request. Guy accepted the mission and headed over to the Red Lanterns. He fought head-to-head against Atracetus, and after a bloody battle, Guy emerged victorious, becoming the leader of the Red Lanterns. Gardner managed to keep his rage in check and was a pretty balanced leader, but over time the rage fueling the Red Lanterns began to eat away at Guy until he almost reached the point of death. Guy faces demons, but he started to see the concepts of rage and hope in a whole new light, finally stepping away from being a Red Lantern. After that, Guy returned to being a Green Lantern, fighting alongside the Corps, appearing occasionally in major DC sagas. In addition to comics, Guy has also appeared in other media, like that awful Justice League of America movie. He has a silent cameo on the episode The Green Lantern of Duck Dodgers. In Batman the Brave and the Bold is where he really got some greater exposure and memorable interactions with Batman. Young Justice, Lego DC Comics Superheroes vs. Bizarro League, Justice League vs. the Fatal Five, Superman Red Sun. He has a silent appearance in Justice League Dark Apocalypse War and Green Lanterns the animated series. Plus, in an early draft for the Green Lantern movie, that terrible one with Ryan Reynolds, Gardner was supposed to make a special appearance as a football player and a potential candidate for having Sur's power ring before it went to Hal Jordan. However, that scene got cut from the final version. He appears as a playable character in Batman the Brave and the Bold, the video game, shows up as a boss in DC Universe Online, Scribblenauts Unmasked, a DC Comics adventure, in Lego Batman 3, Beyond Gotham. In the new DCU from James Gunn, Guy appears in Superman, in the second season of The Peacemaker, and in the series Lanterns. That's right, now Guy's making a more solid appearance outside of the comics, something that hasn't happened since Batman the Brave and the Bold. Now I want to know your opinion. Is Guy Gardner your favorite Green Lantern? Do you think James Gunn's idea of bringing him into the DCU? Please comment down below. When you write in the comments, you signal to YouTube that you want to see more videos like this. In this way, you get more recommendations to discover everything about specific characters. So make sure to write in the comments so that I can know your opinion too. And don't forget to give a thumbs up on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell because that's how you get notified as soon as a new DC video drops. There's a lot of good stuff coming and we're going to cover everything and bring news, full stories, everything about your beloved superheroes. So subscribe so you don't miss a
thing. Thanks a lot for being here with me on this video. I'm gonna leave 2 video recommendations for you to watch related to the theme of character introductions. The first one is a really comprehensive video about Peacemaker. Learn all about the character story in just a few minutes. The second one is also a well done video but about Lobo, so check it out and get the lowdown on everything about these characters.
Once again, thank you so much, and I'll be seeing you soon.